They built an empire that stretched from the White House to the railroad. They owned more land than 20 of America's richest families combined, but today almost no one remembers their name. This is the untold story of America's forgotten royal family, the Vanderbilts. Cornelius Vanderbilt was a man on a mission. After inheriting his father's ferry business, he set out to connect New York City to the growing metropolis of Manhattan. But he didn't just want to transport people across the water. He wanted to make a grand entrance. So Cornelius began purchasing steamboats and ferries, expanding his fleet to include hundreds of vessels that would dominate American waterways. By the 1860s, he had built a transportation empire that stretched from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. And along the way, he amassed a fortune that, adjusted for inflation, would be worth over $400 billion. At the peak of his success, Cornelius turned his attention to the burgeoning world of high society. His daughter, Gloria Vanderbilt, once said, "We were very poor. We had to get by with just 2 palaces instead of 3. In fact, the Vanderbilts own more mansions than the British royal family, including the largest private residence in the Western Hemisphere, which boasted 126 rooms. But it wasn't just about the size of their homes or the number of servants that they employed. It was about the experience. They created an entirely new industry of luxury travel, complete with dedicated train cars and station. Vanderbilt even went so far as to build a private road connecting their summer home in Newport, Rhode Island to the nearest train station, a distance of about 3 miles. By the turn of the century, the Vanderbilt name was synonymous with wealth and power. But their empire was built on a foundation of cutthroat business practices and an unquenchable thirst for more. And when Cornelius died in 1923, his fortune began to unravel. In less than a century, the family went from owning more than $100 million worth of property to having none of it. And by 1973, none of the 120 Vanderbilt descendants were millionaires. But it wasn't just the family fortune that disappeared. Historians estimate that the Vanderbilts lost around $200 billion in today's money. And with it, they lost their status as America's royal family. So what happened? How did the Vanderbilt family go from ruling the Gilded Age to being completely forgotten? Well, that's for another time. For now, though, I want to leave you with the words of Gloria Vanderbilt herself. She once said, "Our family motto was always reach, always stretch." And we did. Well, she certainly did. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.